Coming up on Esoteric Atlanta.
All the time I was spending with Laura, and all the time I was thinking about her and trying to put together the pieces of her, I had overlooked one simple detail that had been available from the very beginning, a detail that should have told me so much about what was happening inside her. With everything else that was already on Laura's shelves, with all those science books and history books and volumes on the paranormal just waiting to be read, why on earth was she wasting a single second reading romance novels? Why were those books so important to her?
Laura Knight Jadczyk is an American author and independent researcher, best known as the founder of the Cassiopaean experiment and the website signsofthetimes.net. Her work bridges esoteric spirituality, alternative history, and conspiracy research, often blending mystical channeling with historical and scientific commentary. Laura was born in the 1950s in the United States. Laura Knight developed an early interest in spirituality, psychic phenomenon, and comparative religion. She also studied topics such as hypnosis, the paranormal, ancient mysteries, and psychology, which later informed her approach to channeling and metaphysics. In the early 1990s, she was conducting hypnosis sessions and research into UFOs, alien abduction reports, and esoteric teachings. In 1994, Laura Knight Jadczyk began Ouija board sessions with a small research team in Florida. The communicating entity identified itself as the Cassiopaeans, described as us in the future, existing in what is called the sixth density. These sessions produced thousands of transcripts discussing cosmology, physics, hidden history, health, spirituality, and world events. She published most of this material in her multi-volume series, The Wave Series. Critics include some former members that have accused the group around her of cult-like dynamics and apocalyptic or conspiratorial thinking. Skeptics argue her claims mix unverifiable channeling with selective interpretations of science and history. Supporters describe her as a rigorous and fearless researcher, challenging mainstream narratives. Academic researchers and new religious movements cite her project as an example of internet-age channeling community similar to the Raw Material or the Seth Material, but with a stronger focus on geopolitics and social manipulation. And before we get to our episode today, just a quick thank you to all of our patrons and our producers. If you would like to join our Patreon or our producer community and help support the work done here on Esoteric Atlanta, there is a link down in the description box below. This channel is solely crowd-funded through our amazing patrons and our producers and our sponsors. So you guys mean the world to us. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Esoteric Atlanta in collaboration with the Confused Wanderer, Todd Roderick, who is also my partner. Now, this is going to be part 2 of our expose on the Cassiopaean cult. I don't know how many parts we're going to do, but if you missed part 1, I don't think it's necessary to watch part 1 first. But if you are confused and you want to go back and watch part 1, this is what it looks like on Todd's channel. And then on my channel, this is what it looks like. So they're on both of our channels. And so, yeah, you can go back and watch part 1. Now, before we get into it, Todd, I just want to make an announcement again to remind my channel specifically, because I've been on YouTube now for a little over 5 years, and I'm so blessed to have a pretty big platform. But you know as well as I do, Todd, that I struggle heavily with shadow banning on my channel. And that is because of the topics that we cover. And so I recently, as of today, we're filming this on Friday, October 24th. I don't know when it's going to air, but I just released our next look at Sergei Monast's work, which is something I actually asked you, Todd, to look through some of this Sergei Monast's work so we could talk about it and compare it to the Law of One, because Sergei Monast is literally one of the forerunners of founding fathers, we'll say, of this waking up world, right? I'm kind of watching my words, but this is what we did, and with this particular episode that I released today on Friday, the day we're filming, it could not go on YT because of the topics. Now I just got a really nasty comment that I deleted, and I typically don't pay attention to these comments because, you know, they're stupid. But let me just tell you guys something. Unless, you know, if you're somebody who was just born today and this is your first day on the internet, I'm just going to let you know that we struggle with shadow banning. And there are certain words you cannot say on YT. There are certain words, I've had to help Todd with it. And I know it sucks, but there is absolutely nothing that I can do about it, that Todd can do about it, that any other YouTube content creator can do about it. And we're not going to sit on our channels where we've worked so hard to like hours and hours of painstaking work to put videos up and just be laissez-faire about our words and get our channels taken down. And to expect us to do that is very selfish. It's extremely selfish. And I know that most of my viewers are not, I know most of my viewers understand this. So what I do, and I'm sure Todd, you will eventually have to do this, is I have a backup platform on RUMBLE. I can't even say that word here on YT. RUMBLE. And then I also have a Substack, okay? So anytime I have material, like this material, that cannot go on YT, I put it on RUMBLE in Substack, and I create a commercial for YT. Now, and in that commercial, I tell you exactly where to go to see the full episode. I don't have to do that. I don't have to create a commercial on YT, but I do that to let people know, because I know you guys are interested in this stuff. I got a very nasty comment about this being an infomercial. Yeah, it is an infomercial. That on YT, it was an infomercial telling you where to go to watch the full thing. And so I'm just going to ask you guys who are new to the internet, and this is your first day ever on YouTube, and you don't understand the type of scrutiny that us content creators are under, just to please be a little bit respectful. We work really, really hard on our channels, and we spend a lot of time researching. And when we have backup places, we're grateful for those backup places because they don't restrict us. And we don't have to tell you on YT that because a lot of people are also subscribed to me over there, but I do it as a courtesy and as a favor. And I cannot tag RUMBLE. I cannot tag that in the description box of YT because my channel might get taken down for that too. So you just have to go Google it. You know where the platform is, the same channel name, and you will see it. So anyway, I know most people understand that, like I absolutely get it. But there are some, you know, we know from the Toronto protocols that narcissism is heavy these days. There's a lot of people with narcissistic personality traits that really feel that they're entitled. And so I just want to remind you guys, and I thank everybody for the support. Please make sure you're subscribed to my backup channels because it is a very frustrating, a very heavy load to bear when you are this restrained. Is there anything you want to say about that, Todd? Because you've seen that me go through this.
Well, yeah, and you know, it used to be just with channels focusing on things like you focus on, but it got so bad that even normal, quote unquote, normal content creators on YouTube realized that if they said you know, certain words, that their view count would go way down dramatically just from a couple words. And so I just don't think that people understand that this is all across the platform. It's not just yours. It's all across the platform that people have to be careful. And it's either you watch what you say or you just watch your channel just crumble.
And my channel has been, I have 55,000 subscribers. Before this happened, I would get like 20 to 30 to sometimes 60,000 views a video. I'm lucky to break 1,000 at this point.
Yeah, and it's crazy to think that my channel was just started a few months ago, and I'm getting like half the views that you get already.
Sometimes you get more views than me.
Yeah.
That is how bad this is. And so, and even Todd, you've just opened your channel and now you realize like how hard this is. And you used to watch people do it. It's a lot harder than people think it is.
Yeah, when I first started, I mean, it would literally take me all day to film and edit a 20-minute video,
And I do multiple hours.
Right, yeah. And I watch you sometimes work 12-hour days researching and then filming and then editing and everything else you have to do behind the scenes that people don't understand. So, I mean, it's rewarding work, and it's better than showing up to a 9 to 5. But at the same time, it's work, and it takes a lot of work. And I think that people don't have a clear perspective on what it actually takes to run a YouTube channel and to bring this information to people.
Yeah. And so just please understand, like when I put a commercial up, and you might have to start doing this one day too, Todd, who knows? It's a courtesy to my subscribers to let them know that I have a full episode for them, but it's just not on YT because it can't be. I want the people who are new to the internet to understand that it can't be. If I put that full episode of this stuff on YT, my channel would be gone. Okay, and you'll see that when you actually listen to the full episode of why. And it just feels good. Some of the subjects we can like mince our words a little bit and like use fake words and get around it. But in heavy subjects like that, you really can't. And so you have to move it to another place. And so, and YouTube is aware of that. That's why I can't tag RUMBLE in the description box, because YouTube is now aware that that is what people do. Okay. And so, I get that complaint a lot too, Todd, that people just want me to put a direct link. And it's like, I just told you I can't. I can't, because I will lose my work if I do that. It takes nothing. And I'm just going to show you guys a quick second while we're here. All you have to do is just type in, this is the episode I'm talking about. You just type this into the search bar and you put my channel name. And it'll take you to my, that's not it. Hold on one second. It'll take you to my channel on RUMBLE. Okay, so there you go. And I share everything over there anyway. Usually content like this episode that can stay on YT, I'll load it up to YT first because this is the most known platform. And then I'll wait 2 days and then drop it on RUMBLE. All right. And we want to keep a presence on YT. That's very important. People have asked me that too, Todd. Like, why don't you just solely move over to RUMBLE? Because that puts me in an echo chamber. What's the point of that? This is where the battle is. Like, this is where they're trying, how clever of the dark ones to try to get us all over on the same platform where it's just an echo chamber, right? We have to keep a presence here on YT. That's of the utmost importance. And we're so grateful. I'm so incredibly grateful for RUMBLE. Because it gives us a place to put full episodes. And for Substack, please subscribe to my Substack, because then I can email you. I want to clarify that as well for your viewers and for mine, Todd, with notifications. YouTube is notoriously terrible at sending out notifications, and that is not a conspiracy. That just happens across the board with channels. Todd nor I nor any other content creator can actually, we can't do that. We can't notify you on YouTube. That's the platform. That's in their hands. And so a lot of people don't get notified though. And I see that in the normie world as well on YouTube with normal channels. They'll complain about that as well. And so if you subscribe to me on Substack, what Substack does is it acts as a emailing service. And so every time I release a video, what I do is I put like a little newsletter or something I write about the video, and I send it to people who have subscribed, so they get an email and there's a link in that like newsletter directly to my channel, to the video. So now with that being said, because I know I'm gonna get these comments too, you have to subscribe to my Substack account in order to get the email. Okay, because I just put it on Substack and Substack sends it out to people who are subscribed to me. Substack is not a mind reader, right? Like, you have to be subscribed to it And you can't just give me your email address. You actually have to subscribe in Substack, right? I hope, does that make sense, Todd? Some people get very confused about that.
Yep, it makes sense.
So anyway, hopefully you'll have a Substack one day. I don't know. You might not need it. We'll hope and pray that your channel doesn't go through what mine's gone through. But nonetheless, I know people are excited about this, Todd, because we're going to do part 2. Now that we've gotten all the housekeeping taken care of, part 2 of exposing the Cassiopaean cult. Who is Vincent Bridges? And now before that too, Todd, after we talk about Vincent Bridges, we're going to answer some of your questions from our last video at the end of this video.
Yeah, not the last video, but the few previous videos that I did focusing on, I think all these questions came from the raw material stuff.
Okay. Yep. Yeah.
So I could probably just like 3 or 4 questions, and I haven't completely looked over them. I cut and paste them into a separate thing, and we can read them out and see if we can come up with answers.
Yeah.
Okay. So Vincent Bridges, I found while doing the deep dive on the Cassiopaean stuff. Once you woke me up to the fact that something was off here, with Laura Knight and what was going on with the seas and the channeling. So once you woke me up to that, I decided to go in and like really start to dig down and see if I could find anyone else that woke up to what you and I were waking up to in regards to Laura Knight and their forum, and also what we started feeling about the actual Cassiopaeans and what they were saying. And so I started to dig down and found a rudimentary website called the Cassiopaean or Cassiopaean Cult. And it was a website created by Vincent Bridges. And it had a limited amount of information on it. I went through and I read that information. And then I decided, I'm going to see how many times this site has been updated and what, when it started, and if there's any more material out there that's been deleted or hidden. And you could do that with the Wayback Machine. If you know how to use the Wayback Machine, you pull that up.
The Wayback Machine to people who don't know what that is. Is that
the Wayback Machine is an internet archive where it'll give you a whole stream. The way it works, a whole stream of dates that'll show you every time this what they call web crawler goes around the web and archives different versions of a website throughout the years. So you may have your updated 2025 version website up, but if you use the Wayback Machine, you can go all the way back, as far back as when the website was first created, and see every single version. So the version you see now on the web could have been updated 100 times and copied 100 times with a lot of information that was taken off from it. I use it a lot. The Wayback Machine is a really important tool when you want to dig into
for research.
For research. Yeah. And so a lot of these articles are no longer on the web you can't find the links unless you go back with the Wayback Machine. So what I was trying to do was go back to the very beginning when the Cassiopaean cult started to get called out, when people started to get smeared by the members and by Laura.
Which is that's so like cult 101. Like the minute somebody pushes back, they have to shut. It's an us versus them.
Well, also with a cult, a cult has to have an enemy. And Vincent Bridges is what I feel like is the OG of the Cassiopaean cult enemy.
Do you know what I was telling you the other night, Todd? We were laying in bed and I was laughing. We were listening to another podcast that was going hard. It's an older podcast on Laura. They were and we were listening to it. We were kind of laughing. And it's kind of nice to hear other people have the same reaction that you've had, because you realize you're not crazy.
Right.
They were talking about how Laura, we talked about this in the last episode, that every single time somebody disagrees with her or has concerns, like we said, we're fully expecting to be called OPs because that's what she does. Is anytime somebody disagrees with her or has concerns or gives pushback, she just labels them an organic portal, which basically means they don't have a soul. And I was laughing because I was like, this is just like Scientology. Anybody who says anything bad about Scientology or questions Scientology, what are they called? They are called a suppressive person. And a suppressive person in the Scientology world is like the evilest of evil people. You know? So she is behaving exactly like David Miscavige. She doesn't have the money that David Miscavige has. Thank God for that, because I think, in my opinion, Laura Knight would be way more malicious if she had the money that David Miscavige has. So yeah, he was the first like suppressive person organic portal that to really be called out, wasn't he?
Yeah. He was their first villain, and he was the perfect villain in a sense. And so he started getting called out and attacked. And first he was heavily love bombed, and Laura was claiming that he was the only one who really understood what the C's were saying, because Vincent Bridges himself is, you know, an author and a researcher, and was he's no longer alive, and he was in the conspiracy circuit way back in the early days when they would do conferences and stuff, and he would arrange his own conferences.
Well, I pulled up a little. You want me to read about him just so our audience kind of knows who he is?
Yeah.
All right. So let's see here. Vincent Bridges, sometimes listed as Vincent M. Bridges. He passed away in 2014 at the age of 62. He was born in Greenville, South Carolina, and he attended the University of South Carolina, which, Todd, you know, the University of South Carolina bears my name from my mom's family. So I always feel a tender connection to people who go to the University of South Carolina. He described himself as a husband, a magician, friend, mentor, scholar, and world traveler. He referred to himself as a researcher of esoteric history, alchemy, ancient mysteries. So Bridges' work spans several somewhat overlapping fields into esoteric occult history, ancient mysteries, alchemy, prophecy, especially Nostradamus, and sacred geometry. He was featured on TV documentaries about Nostradamus. For example, he served as an on-camera tour guide and historical consultant for the documentary called Nostradamus 500 Years Later, which aired first in December of 2003 on the History Channel. He also appeared in other Nostradamus related programs, and he worked in that field. He wrote about alchemy. He has a book called The Mysteries of the Great Cross, Alchemy and the End of Time. He talked about hidden symbolism in architecture, ancient culture, sacred geometry. His work delves into Hermeticism, with his interest in John Dee and Shakespearean occult links. He traveled widely through southern France, Egypt, and India with his wife. He led tour groups and workshops. He was involved in founding or creating educational organizations. So he's a big deal. Like, this is a really, really big deal. He had a lot of credit, right? So to be partnered with someone like Vincent Bridges, you automatically get street cred, don't you? Because if you take him seriously, then your name. Basically, Laura kind of love bombed him and then rode his coattails into fame, right?
Well, that was her intentions.
Which she'd already done that if you watch our previous episode with Frank, the pseudonym Frank, she rode his coattails into getting the Cassiopaean material, and now she's trying to use Vincent Bridges with his notoriety to make herself, I believe, it's all about her selfish fame. Yeah. So.
Yeah. So within my research, what I intended to do after I had read so many, because other people were posting, he would post other people's articles on their experiences. People that heard about the Cassiopaean material and Laura Knight and what she was doing and were intrigued, and those people would start to, form a relationship with her and start the research. And then all of a sudden they'd be like, oh shit, like, what's going on here? Something's not right. And then they would turn around and change the direction of their article, basically pointing out the experiences that they had and how off they were. So there was a lot of articles on the website that I found using the Wayback Machine that, gave a deeper perspective. So I kept reading and reading. And after I felt like I had, not completely exhausted everything that I could read on what was going on from many different people's perspectives, within that, I thought, okay, now it's time to go back and try to find an article or articles that can help sort of build the picture from the very beginning. And I feel like the beginning would be soon after Frank parted ways and Laura was on her own, doing her own thing with the stolen Cassiopaean channeling. Yeah, because we got to understand that she stole Frank's ability to channel and Frank's connection. I'm not sure if Frank is probably still channeling. Most likely not the Cassiopaeans, but most likely he's still channeling.
She basically used his life force to level herself up to be able to take over this work. And as we spoke about in part 1, Frank was the main contact. He was the wanderer. And right. After he decided he didn't want anything to do with Laura anymore, I would love to talk to Frank. I would love to understand from his perspective what that final straw was, where he realized Laura's not a good person. I don't even know if Laura's ever been honest a day in her life, to be honest with you. There's so many lies that she has told from what we see with this research. And so after Frank parted ways, Laura literally took him to court to take ownership over his stuff.
Right. It was his research that brought the Cassiopaean channeling up, and also he wanted to give all the information out for free. That was his intention.
Yeah.
To create a website and to post all the transcripts online, create a forum to have discussion about the material and have free-flowing conversations about the topics that they bring up. But Laura had a different idea. But Frank had already stepped away first. He realized where Laura wanted to take it, and I think that there was some tension that was growing between the two of them, and he had just decided, I'm going to leave. But we don't really hear a lot from Frank. That's the thing, is that you have to listen to what other people have said about Frank and their experience with Frank and what they've talked about with Frank. But the information from Frank's side, there's not much out there. Vincent Bridges eventually established a relationship with Frank.
I was about to say that's.
But Vincent Bridges came in after Frank had already left.
But the reason why we're bringing Frank up is because Vincent does write about Frank, and it does seem that it's important. He found it important to find Frank at some point. And so the clearest understanding that we have from Frank's perspective is from Vincent's writings.
Right.
Because Frank has never publicly, that we know of,
Frank posted a short few paragraphs then gave it to Vincent Bridges to post publicly. But Frank never came out and really fought for this publicly.
I think he was, listen.
It's traumatic to have your material stolen like this, and hijack something like this, and for the person to call it act like it's their own. That's
I've had it done damaging. To me 1,000 times. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. I hear you. And Vincent Bridges, when he started to get smeared, it took him a while to decide, okay, I've got to fight back. And as you and I both know, if you end up deciding to fight back when you're in battle with someone like this, you've either got to do it right away before their smear campaign goes too far, or you have to decide to just, cut your losses and walk away and not say anything. But with Vincent Bridges, he waited a while. Laura had already written multiple articles, had already done a big smear job on him, and then he tried to fight it. And what's the saying? The lie travels around the world before the truth gets its shoes on.
Yeah, and I will say my opinion, this is my opinion. I think Laura is a malignant narcissist, grandiose narcissist. And if I've had my fair share of dealings with malignant, grandiose narcissists, especially on YouTube. They will lie, they will manipulate. I mean, the person we spoke about this in part 1. Somebody I've done a few episodes with, a few shows with, not a lot, literally took all of my 5 years worth of material on YouTube and wrote a book.
A shitty book at that.
But shitty book, claiming it was her work, literally quoting me verbatim. It was almost like, and I say it's not almost like, one of her assistant people that told me that she literally would watch my show and take notes on things that I was saying. But before she released that book, she did a huge smear campaign on me. Huge. Making shit up, trying to reach out to all of my community right before she published this book that was basically forgery. It was all plagiarized of my teachings. And so I understand what that feels like. It knocks the wind out of you. You're kind of in shock because you don't understand, are you serious? You really have the balls to brazenly do this? And so for our friends watching right now, Vincent Bridges had run across articles about the Cassiopaean. He shared them. Laura loved to bomb him because he's kind of a big deal.
Well, I'm not quite sure if that's exactly how it went down, because what I have here is a compilation of articles, a four-part article that lays it all out. And so I was going to read that.
Okay.
So we could get an understanding on where he was coming from, because this really, I think, it sets up the groundwork, takes it back. He explains. I'm pretty sure this is the one where he explains his first meetings and how he got involved.
Okay.
And the general lay of the land of what the situation was at the time. Yeah.
Let's do it. You want to share screen?
Yeah, I'll share screen, and then I will do my best to read this.
It's a shame that Vincent Bridges is no longer with us. I would love to talk to him, not just about this, but just about his knowledge in general,
Yeah.
And Frank, if Frank is listening, we would love to speak to you, buddy.
Yeah. Okay, can you see this?
Yes.
Okay, I'll read it. The Truth About Cassiopeia, the Ouija Alien Alert by Vincent Bridges. This was written in 2002, so this is the intro. After months of systemic harassment, cyber stalking, slander, libel of the most heinous and disgusting kind, lies, character assassination, and outright attempts to destroy me, my livelihood, and my work at the hands of Laura Knight Jadczyk. Jadczyk. Her husband, Ark, and their various attack robots and duped minions, I have decided to fight back. Previously, in an effort to be fair, I have refrained from defending myself publicly and used mainly their supposedly open e-group forums for that purpose. They have posted my repeated apologies and attempts dating back to August of 2001 to distance myself from the Cassiopaeanists.
I like that.
None of which had the slightest effect except to increase the intensity of their attacks. From that, any objective person might assume that my sole agenda has been to distance myself from the Cassiopaeanists. If Laura and Ark had just taken all mention of me down from the site, as I have requested repeatedly, I would have been quite willing to let the whole thing drop. But they refused and upped the ante yet again with accusations from anonymous informants and veiled hints of larger and more nefarious plots. But I can't afford to laugh off their insanity any longer. The time has come to publicly address the Cassiopaean cult issue and tell the real, unedited version of the story. To that end, I have set up vincentbridges.com as the main source site for the Cassiopeia cult awareness website. I just say awareness website. That must be a typo. On the site at the moment are the complete unedited transcripts of the Cassiopaean sessions from 1994 to 2000, available as a download and open to all comers. Also on the site is the beginning of a much larger article in which the complete story of the Cassiopaeans, Laura, Ark, Frank, I mean, it says Fred here, that's his name. Anyway, in my involvement with them will be detailed.
Say his last name. Does his last name come up in this?
It does. I mean, I'm going to put these links.
Okay.
They're going to eventually find it.
I mean, I guess it's already been out there, so.
Right, yeah, Okay. In my honest opinion, it is my honest opinion that the value of the Cassiopaean sessions can only be measured and evaluated by an open and honest exchange of information. And to that end, the complete unedited transcripts have been made openly and freely available to all who are interested. I would also like to hear from those who have had experiences with the Cassiopaeanists, both good and bad, and I will be glad to put any response I get up on the site.
Can we hold for a second because in our last episode, guys, we spoke about this, and I'm assuming this is where you got the unedited versions of the Cassiopaeans from 1994 2000 was from, and that was handed to Vincent Bridges by Frank or Fred.
Yeah.
Correct.
So this is where, so he's basically telling you what we said last week, and something that I had been suspicious of myself because I felt like I could just see right through Laura the more I read from the that she's changing them, right? He's saying that she's changing the transcripts. She's heavily changing them to make herself look more favorable.
Right. So this is after 2 years of Frank leaving. Here comes Vincent Bridges saying, "Hey, you're changing," because she was posting them on her own forum, and he was like, "You're changing these. Here's the originals," and he wanted to get the originals out there to call this out from the very beginning, to let people know, like she's changing this stuff, and all the changes are benefiting her.
Yeah, it's stupid, the changes that she's made. It's like it's very selfish and very narcissistic.
Yeah. Okay, you want me to keep reading?
Yeah.
This is my form of closure on the whole affair. And in a minor and humble way, my service to humanity. If one person learned something from all this, then it will not have been wasted. Free Cassiopeia, free will in all things, and for the earthlings.
That just gave me chills, Todd, because here we are, 23 years later? Vincent Bridges is no longer here.
Right.
And I bet they would have never thought, or he would have never thought when he was leaving this earth in 2014, that in 11 years' time, all of this would be coming back out. And frankly, and I'm going to say this, and I don't mean to sound arrogant when I say this, but I know for a fact that my platform is bigger than Laura's.
Yeah, most definitely.
So the truth, what's that Johnny Cash song? God's gonna cut you down. The truth always comes out.
Right.
And I thank you, Vincent Bridges, if you're listening, if you're around listening in spirit form, if you're with us, I thank you for writing this so that we could continue your service to humanity.
Absolutely, and this is just the beginning.
Just the beginning.
There's so much. But I feel like it's important to set the groundwork first, so we have a platform to launch off of.
I mean, this is Netflix documentary worthy type of stuff.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. We've got children that we don't know who their fathers are. We've got we're going
to get it. We're going to get into that. Actually, we're about
Todd. The M word you can't say. So unaliving.
Unaliving, okay.
Attempted unaliving, all sorts of cons, money. It's you thought the Louvre heist. I've been finding much entertainment with the Louvre heist. You thought that was entertaining.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Okay.
Just hold on.
All right. There may be some words I get caught up with here. But anyway, I'll do my best.
Do you want me to take over and read? Do you want to go back and forth, or?
Yeah, let's go back and forth. Why don't you read part 1 and I'll do part 2?
Okay. All right.
Well, can you scroll this?
No, but I'll tell you when to scroll. How about that?
Okay, I'll just keep.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Part 1. My name is Vincent Bridges, and I'm a former member of the Cassiopaean cult. This is the story of how I got sucked in, was brainwashed, and once I was no longer useful, ended up being the scapegoat for the cult and its leaders. I went from being the only other person who truly understand what the Cassiopaeans had to say to the Antichrist himself in just 6 short months. Why? Well, that is the plot of my story. Soon after I returned from France in the spring of 1999, a friend told me about this strange lady. That's saying it kindly.
Yeah.
Strange lady posting channeled material about Rennes-le-Chateau and its mysteries on an e-group discussion list. Seemed that she was onto some of the same threads, alchemists in the Pyrenees and whatnot. So I began an email exchange with her. This was Laura Knight Jadczyk, and her channeled material came from a mysterious source. We transmit through the opening that is presented in the locator that you represent as Cassiopeia due to the strong radio pulses aligned from Cassiopeia, which are due to a pulsar from a neutron star 300 light years behind it as seen from your locator. This facilitates a clear channel transmission from 6th density to 3rd density. Cassiopaeans, that's one area. They're fourth density. They're not 6th density, and they're service to self.
Yeah, and also they don't need radio pulses.
No,
like that. All that information right there is such bullshit. It's laughable. But anyway, let's keep going.
I mean, I'm sorry, but when you get inspiration from the divine, does it come through radio pulses? No.
Right. From 300 light years away?
No.
Anyway.
These beings apparently communicated with Miss Knight Jadczyk through the means of a Ouija board and with the help of another individual, Frank, whose name, curiously enough, can be found nowhere in the published Cassiopaean material. At first, the communications were the ordinary sort of things from Ouija aliens, space brothers. That's they call them space brothers. But as they got better at it, the answers began to take on a life of their own. And then the Ouija aliens provided a real miracle. Dr. Ark Jadczyk, theoretical and mathematical physicist, answered one of Laura's posts on an e-group, and suddenly they were soulmates. For a while, Laura and Fred kept track of Ark by means of the Ouija aliens, and then Ark made it to the USA, married Laura, and everything changed. Not overnight, but slowly and steadily. What once was a fairly harmless hobby of two esoteric-minded people became, with the addition of Ark, the beginning of a serious doomsday cult. Now, I don't use this word cult lightly. Here's the definition selection off the internet with the comments on how it fits the Cassiopaeanist. Every cult can be defined as a group having all of the following 5 characteristics. 1, it uses psychological coercion to recruit, indoctrinate, and retain its members. The Cassiopaeanists use the leverage of the impending end of the world, the wave's arrival, and the come on of a secret insider information to coerce its recruits and indoctrinate them into the sea world mindset. 2, it forms an elitist totalitarian society, which is service to self, guys. That in itself is service to self. The Cassiopaeanists are very elitist. Only those with the right application of the Cassiopaean secret knowledge will survive the wave, and totalitarian in that there is one answer to all questions and no dissent is allowed. 3, its founder leader is self-appointed, dogmatic, Masonic, not accountable, and has charisma. The Cassiopaeanists are led by Laura Knight Jadczyk, and her own story of her self-appointed, dogmatic, Masonic, definitely not accountable, and charismatic happenings can be found in her ongoing autobiography, Amazing Grace. 4, I'm just sorry, like the fact that you would write an autobiography is a biography written by you, not by somebody else. The fact that she would title her own autobiography, Amazing Grace. Jesus Christ. Like,
yeah. And it's not, it's messianic.
Messianic, sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. Go ahead.
4, it believes the end justifies the means in order to solicit funds and recruit people. Oh my God, that's humanistic. That's in this. We talk about that in the episode that I released today, Friday the 24th. I'll tag that in my description box below, you guys, where he talks heavily about that. The ends justifying the means is a very service to self belief system. Because then you're working off a moral compass that's good for you and not for the world, right? It's your own ethics. Anyway, it's like selective ethics. The Cassiopaeans are not beyond conning money out of wealthy investors for anti-gravity research, as well as soliciting money for legal funds when their lie scams and frauds catch up with them. That's so funny. I think he's poking fun at Ark because Ark asks the stupidest questions. Actually, I had somebody comment on one of my channel that, and I'm paraphrasing because I don't have it in front of them, that she had like pushed back on some of Ark's questions, and of course she got completely just tormented for it, which is a total sign of a cult, right? 5, its wealth does not benefit its members or society. This one does not apply at the moment to the Cassiopaeans as they have no wealth, but should a wealthy Finnish businessman really give them mega bucks, we can be fairly sure it will benefit no one but themselves. And here are 2 more different definitions. A charismatic, self-appointed leader with complete authority. Cult members are taught not to question the teachings, practices, or ideas of the leader. Many cult leaders truly are charismatic people and are able to influence people to believe them. It is common that a cult member is not told everything up front when joining the group, but that they are taught increasingly controlling ideas and teachings as they go. In the case of some of the more well-publicized cults that have come and gone, it is also common that the leader's ideas and demands evolve over time, becoming increasingly controlling and restricted. One very clear identifying element dealing with the leader of this cult is that the leader will always focus the attention and veneration of the members upon himself or herself. At the heart of a cult usually lies a very self-centered and self-seeking person. A focus on withholding truth from non-members. Many cults teach their followers to be completely open and truthful with the group, within the group. While at the same time, they are encouraged to be selective and evasive when questioned by people outside of the group. This is another form of mind control, instilling guilt in the members if they hold anything back within the group. The members are taught that outsiders wouldn't understand, or that they would only make fun of the ideas and practices and requirements for living within the group. Only specially commissioned members are appointed to recruit members from outside. Only specifically commissioned members are appointed to recruit members from the outside. New members are usually encouraged to keep silent or even lie, especially to their families and close friends. This could have been written with the Cassiopaeanist in mind. It is so accurate. The only significant difference is that specifically commissioned members in this Cassiopaean cult are those who actually perform the cyber stalking and character assassination by infiltrating e-groups and spreading disinformation. Cult recruitment in SeaWorld comes through the internet and their website. An organization that uses intensive indoctrination techniques to recruit and maintain members in a totalist ideology. Intensive indoctrination technique include 1. Subjection to stress and fatigue. 2. Social disruption, isolation, and pressure. 3. Self-criticism and humiliation. 4. Fear, anxiety, and paranoia. 5. Control of information. 6. Escalating contentment. Sorry, it's hard for me to see.
Escalating commitment.
Okay. 7. Use of auto-hypnosis to induce peak experiences. Totalism is defined by psychiatrist Robert Lifton as a tendency to view the world in terms of all or nothing alignments. Lifton details 8 psychological things that can be found in totalist groups.
Do we want to get into all that?
Yeah, I think it's
okay. Yeah,
and this sounds like pre-bite model.
Yeah.
Talks about behavior control, information control, thought control, emotional control. That's kind of the new Dr. Hassan's new bite model, which I think is great. But this
Yeah.
is like pre-bite model.
Right. Yeah.
So, a sacred science, an ideology that is held to be true for people at all times. This ideology generally claims to be inspired and scientific at the same time. So that's almost like spiritual manipulation as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Milieu control, the control of human communication, not only over our communications with others, but also with ourselves. Here we go. Mystical manipulation, including deception and planned spontaneity, which seeks limit self-expression and independent action. The demand for purity, the notion that absolute purity exists and that anything done in the name of this purity is ultimately moral. Can we pause on that for a second?
About the no cussing on the no use of profanity on their forum.
Yeah, she won't let you curse on her forum. They publicly speak out almost about how being intimate with, you can't say the S word, so being intimate with your partner is like service to self, but yet eating meat is also service to self, but they encourage you to eat meat. And we can also talk about how Laura gets to chain smoke.
Right.
Because apparently it keeps the Lizzies away.
Right.
So for her to chain smoke, that keeps her pure from the Lizzies. It also because let's just call a spade a spade. She's obese. She always has been. What does she say her excuse is for being obese?
I don't even remember.
But it keeps her protected from the Lizzies.
Oh, right. It's a buffer.
It's a buffer. So every bad thing she does that could be considered unclean or impure, for her,
conveniently it's a
pure.
Conveniently it's a good, supposedly a good thing. There's a whole section on their forum that's just about how smoking is good for you. Pages and pages and pages that have been added to for like 10 years.
Listen, if you look at Laura, use your common sense. She's not someone you want to take health advice from.
Right.
She looks like shit. She looks unhealthy. She looks on, and I know this is going to sound mean, and I apologize in advance, but she looks like she smells. You know, you can just look at somebody and they look like they smell. I mean,
okay. All right, let's move on.
You're laughing because you know it's true. Do I smell, Todd?
No.
You're supposed to say, yes, you smell good. Yeah. All right, no, go back. I didn't go scroll.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Okay, so
there we go.
The cult of confession. There is the demand that one confesses to crimes one has not committed, to sinfulness and that articulately induced in the name of a cure that
artificially induced. Yeah.
I'm having a hard time. This is small.
Okay, I'm gonna take up in a second. We're almost done with this part, and I'll take up.
Okay, so you'll start part two.
Yeah.
Okay. Loading the language, a redefinition of language and an emphasis on moral polarization and thought terminating cliches, doctrine over person, the subordination of personal experience to the doctrines of the sacred science, dispensing of existence, the doctrine that the group can decide who has the right to exist and who does not. In other words, the cult manipulates the environment to set up the recruit to trap him or herself in a black and white mindset. This one fits the best of all. Totalism, as a mental perspective, appears to be at the root of all fundamentalisms. And we know she was a fundamentalist Christian before she became a cult leader, right?
Uh-huh.
The Cassiopaeanist can be considered a form of a scientific, materialistic fundamentalism with spiritualistic leanings. All knowledge of value comes to the Cassiopaeans, as interpreted by Laura Knight Jadczyk, with no dissent, no alternative interpretations allowed. Totalism, pure and simple. And what about the doomsday business? The Ouija aliens have announced something called the wave, at the arrival of which catastrophic things will happen to our planet. Publicly, it has not been announced what the Ouija aliens have in mind for their followers to do to make the transition. But how far off base is it, really, to expect orders for clean Nikes and Kool-Aid? So for our young people, Todd, that's referring to the Heaven's Gate cult and Jamestown, right?
Yes.
Both So I can't say too much on that, but those were doomsday cults where they unalived their members. Heaven's Gate, the Nikes, is a mention of Heaven's Gate. Oh, he says it in the next line, doesn't he? Well, Heaven's Gate, that was when I was a kid. They were trying to catch Halley's Comet. And so
Right.
they all unalived themselves, laying in bunk beds, wearing matching outfits and Nikes.
And it's just like the wave that the Cassiopaeans
Yeah, they were
talk
trying
about.
to catch the comet, and so they found their
Right.
bodies. And he talks about Heaven's Gate in the next line. And Jamestown, that's where we get, it's called Jamestown, right?
Yes.
Drinking the
Uh-huh.
Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
They all, the federal police were about to come in and clear out Jamestown, and instead of that, he forced all of them to drink poison. So it was a huge. So if we have young people here watching, I can't say too much again because of the platform. Platform doesn't like us talking about these kinds of things, but you can just Google those things to see what he's talking about if you're a young one. What exactly is the difference between this Ouija alien cult and say Heaven's Gate or the Solar Temple, for example? And I want to say something too. Like we think about cults like the Branch Davidians. They did not unalive themselves. They were unalived. There was a standoff because the federal agents got involved. So there are some differences between how some cults go extinct, we'll say, versus others. And I think what he's implying here is that if this happens with the Cassiopaeanists, it's because Laura is going to demand they do something to catch a wave. It's a doomsday cult.
Right. And the wave, supposedly, the way I understood it, was the coming of fourth density. So, it could come down to, if you want to get into fourth,
You got
it's
to take
time to
your own
drink the
self out.
Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So I'll start to read part 2. So what is the difference? The Cassiopaeanists are still alive purely and solely because the wave of the cult's development has yet to crest. When it does, with the inevitable announcement that the wave is at hand, that we might reasonably expect them to go the same way and help speed up the process of transition to fourth density by mass unaliving. As we wind our way through the tangled web of scams, deceit, deceptions, and real flashes of spirituality that comprise the sordid saga, keep in mind the definitions of a cult listed above. Pay close attention to the idea of totalism and the 8 psychological themes associated with this all or nothing, us versus them posture as the story unfolds. Cults don't just happen. People who need to control the very soul and existence of other people create cults. This kind of person is known to psychology as the charismatic sociopath. Charismatic psychopath. And as we will see, they do not change their ways, and they can be very, very dangerous to everyone who becomes involved with them or their cult. Number 3, its founder leader is self-appointed, dogmatic, messianic, not accountable, and has charisma. On Sunday, February 13th, 2000, the St. Petersburg Times published a pull-out magazine-size section of an article, The Exorcist in Love, written by Pulitzer Prize winner Tom French, devoted to the story of Laura Knight's struggle to understand the universe, communicate with alien life forms, find a new husband, and save the world. It was the longest single feature ever published by the St. Pete Times. It was also extremely positive and complimentary to Miss Knight in ways that are almost never found in mainstream media articles on esoteric subjects such as Ouija board channeling. And in this single article can be found the genesis of the future Cassiopeia cult. I had been in touch with Laura via email for just over 9 months when the article appeared. For weeks prior to its publication, Laura had barraged
me.
barraged me with emails and articles attacking the proposed St. Pete Times article and endlessly moaning about how bad it was going to be, having been sideswiped by journalists with hidden agendas a few times myself. I knew how she felt. But when the story came out, I was shocked to see that it was overwhelmingly positive, so much so that I emailed Laura and told her she was very lucky that all her fears had been groundless. She, however, was sure it was all bad. So bad she wanted to go out and raid the corner news boxes and destroy as many copies as she could. That was my first warning that Laura didn't exactly live in the same reality most of us inhabit. I had several other warnings at the same time, and so I broke off contact for over 5 months. In the intervening months, Laura had developed her own nascent cult of personality, although it would be another year before I realized it, and by then I would be an integral part of it all. So let us start with that seminal article and see what it really tells us about Laura, her life, and her agendas. Laura Knight was born on February 12, 1952 in Tampa, Florida. Her father left the family before she was born, and her mother, Alice Knight, would marry and divorce 4 times during Laura's childhood. Alice would attest many times over the years to Laura's precociousness, thank you. Telling Tom
it's hard. French, this is small writing.
I know. Telling Tom French could read all and write at age 3. Often in the same sentence, Alice could be found telling the world how hard it was for Laura to fit in. This, along with the frequent moves and changes of father, seems to have left its mark on Laura's developing psyche.
Can we pause there for a second?
Yeah.
Talk about that. The whole thing where she says she could read and write by the age of 3. Well, that's kind of bullshit. I mean, kids start to learn how to write, but that kind of shows, past behavior is the indicator of future behavior, and that's why she lies about how intelligent she is now.
Well, it claims to have photographic memory, but can never remember
shit.
Anything.
Cassiopaeans point that out in like every reading. Like,
yeah.
You can't remember this? You say you can remember everything. So honestly, I know this is going to sound so mean, but cult leaders deserve to be bullied a little bit because that's what they do. It's white trash. Like that first pair, she was born into like a white trash. And when I say white trash, I don't mean poor people. You can have a poor person who is extremely classy. Yeah. This is some redneck white trash behavior.
This is some Tampa, Florida shit.
She's your cousin.
This is the shit you only find in Florida.
Thomas Moore.
I'm a Florida native, so I could say that.
Thomas Moore would be rolling over his grave right now if he knew that one of his descendants was acting trashy like her, wouldn't he?
Those rings.
It's so embarrassing. It's so true. Those rings, the smoking. She looks like she smells. She's so. I mean, it's embarrassing. Like, I'm sorry she's your cousin. Let me just assure you guys.
Second cousin. Let's be clear. Second cousin.
Todd's very classy. He's very classy. This is the bad side of the family.
All right. let me keep going. Tom French's article leaves those early years in shadow, except for a few intriguing points that we will get to later, and focuses instead on Laura's tall tale of riding out Hurricane Alma in a tree at age 14. Hurricane Alma was a Category 2 and 3 hurricane with sustained winds when it was offshore from east central Florida of over 110 miles per hour. It was unlikely that anyone could have survived in a tree in conditions anywhere close to those of Hurricane Alma.
Okay, let's pause there for a second because you Florida boy, hurricanes are no joke. They're no joke. Like they will rip a roof off of a building.
Yeah, you won't be weathering a hurricane in a tree.
It will it will uproot a tree.
Uh-huh.
It will send cars flying. You evacuate most of the time there's a hurricane.
Yeah.
Even
Okay.
a lot of I like how he says her tall tales, because she sure can tell some whoppers, can't she?
Yeah. All right. From there, the article jumps ahead to 1989 when Laura was 37. The intervening 23 years receive very scant mention. We are told, for instance, that Laura met her first husband, Lewis Martin, at Hillsborough Community College, but not what year this took place. We were also told that she had 4 children in 1989. The 5th was on the way, but not how long she had been married. But 1989 is important because it was the first time she used the Ouija board, and according to her, the results were phenomenal. She was given instructions on selling her grandparents' property and told that she was moving to Montana. Having lived all her life in Florida, moving to the state of Montana was simply out of the question. But the town of Newport Richey, as Laura well knew from living most of her life in the region, had streets named for states. On the corner of Montana and Harrison, Laura found a tumbled down old house for sale cheap, little more than value of the lot, and persuaded Lewis to buy it. Laura had her first genuine miracle. Next, the St. Pete Times article focuses on Laura's hypnotherapy session with a supposed abduction survivor on April 15th, 1993. From that, the article moves through Laura's dreams of a husband by Nazis. Unalived. Sorry, okay. Unalived. Unalived. Oh, now I lost my place. Laura's dreams of a husband unalived by Nazis in World War II.
You can't say the N-word.
I can't say.
No, stop. I'm going to have to mute this. I'm going to have to edit. That takes me forever.
All right, what am I supposed to say?
Yahtzees.
Yahtzees?
Yahtzee.
Yahtzees in World War II. Her homeschooling of her children, and finally touches ever so briefly on what passed for Laura's credentials as a hypnotherapist. She had read extensively on the subject and had taken classes. No mention of where those classes were or what they consisted of, yet Laura in the same paragraph is described as performing spirit detachments using hypnosis. But however vague the abduction information received by hypnosis that April evening, the event was cast in stone as a genuine mystery by the reports of strange boomerang-shaped craft hovering over Pasco County. The sightings began the night of the hypnosis session. The UFO was first seen only a few blocks from Laura's house at just about the time the hypnosis session was going on. For Laura, this was confirmation of a kind that led a few months later to a personal UFO sighting of her own. This, of course, was her second genuine miracle. Only one more would be needed to make the magic 3 that would somehow awaken Laura's latent talents.
Pause. Isn't surviving a hurricane in a tree a miracle?
Yeah, but we're talking about a different kind of miracle.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, sounds like she can just make them up.
We're talking about the paranormal kind of miracle, alien
surviving in a tree is probably pretty paranormal. If you're going to survive a hurricane in a tree, you probably got some angelic forces holding you there. So
yeah, she could keep her rings on during that storm. That
probably
would be
hook the rings into.
Yeah, okay. The UFO sighting is curious, however. Laura's description, as reported in St. Pete Times article, matches that of the April sightings. But although she reports that it was flying very low over the neighborhood, no one other than her and her children seemed to have spotted it. There were no reports of any other sightings of boomerang-shaped craft on August 16th, 1993, anywhere in the area. It would appear to have been a private event.
How handy.
What's that?
How handy.
Yeah, right.
Just happened to be her and her kids.
Yeah. A year and a half after this sighting, Tom French entered the story. By this time, Laura was speaking at local MUFON meetings. Here's what he had to say about their first meeting. So this is from Tom French at one of those UFO meetings. To say that Laura made an impression that day is an understatement. When it was her turn to speak, she instantly seized control of the room. She had so much presence, she was almost radioactive. And hers was no ordinary presence. She was not about to be mistaken for a movie star. She was overweight and slightly mused, and her clothes were almost defiantly unfashionable. She wore leggings that, as I recall, were a little too tight, and a tunic adorned with amber beads and painted gold spirals. I took one look at her and said to myself, I bet she has a bust of Elvis in her living room. Somehow, though, Laura used all these qualities to her advantage. She was too much and knew it. It did not care. If anything, she reveled in her over-the-topness, which gave her tremendous freedom and power. Her eyes flashed, her hair flowed freely, her slightly crooked smile ignited the atmosphere around her. In a short talk, apparently delivered without any notes, Laura gave an overview of her life, telling a little bit about her childhood, her work as an exorcist, her hypnosis sessions with the woman with the missing time, the night she and her kids saw 2 ships above their swimming pool. She also spoke about some recent experiences with a spirit board, which I understood it was similar to a Ouija board, but more elaborate. Using the spirit board, she said, she and Freddie and some other friends had begun communicating with what she called 6 density beings from the stars that make up the Cassiopaean constellation. Laura's story was easily the wildest I heard that day. She was giving a performance, and I was not only one in the audience who enjoyed it. Sherry Diaz, a Times photographer with whom I'd worked for many years, had come with me to the MUFON meeting. The two of us were searching for someone unusual to follow for the newspaper. After seeing and listening to Laura that day, Sherry and I believed that we had found a subject who exceeded our every expectation. And so began Tom French's 5-year odyssey through the developing mythos of the Cassiopaeans. In the end, he would become a key component of that mythos, the award-winning journalist who wrote the article that started it all. Laura, when confronted with questions concerning her credibility, still trots out this St. Pete Times article as proof that she is what she says she is. Indeed, reading Tom French's excellent work is hard not to be impressed, as he obviously was, with Laura's sheer overpowering dynamism.
Dynamism. It's a hard word to say.
Dynamism. I've never even seen that word.
She's dynamic.
Yes, right. No, I get that. Yeah. Okay, so he found her a glorious amalgamation, a mixture of Bette Midler, Father
Damien,
Donna Reed, and Agent Scully. And through his words, the reader sees her that way as well. But even though he found her charming and fascinating, that old charisma, Tom was still a journalist and took a somewhat skeptical view. He decided, however, that whatever she wasn't a hoax. From the start, we recognized the possibility that Laura could have lied to us about the exorcisms and many other things as well. She could have made up her memories of the reptilian face at the window, the dreams, the breaking glass, if she had wanted to do so. And it would have required the cooperation of not only her children, but many other people as well. She could have been staging an almost impossibly elaborate hoax on us for several years. Neither Sherry nor I saw anything to indicate such a hoax. After spending several years in her company, we never found any evidence to suggest that Laura was some con artist faking her studies of the paranormal to gain money or attract publicity. Everything about her suggested someone who was trying her best to give a full and accurate account of her life. When I asked difficult questions, she did not hedge. On her own, she shared with me sensitive moments from her past, moments where she had made a mistake or done something she regretted, such as an unaliving attempt in her early 20s when she was distraught over the breakup of a relationship and the death of her unaliving of her grandfather. It was not easy for her to talk about these things, but she did. And yet, being a journalist and not a psychologist, Tom French did not quite understand that the lack of deliberate hoax didn't mean honesty either. Laura believed in her mission without any hint of personal gain, but she did so out of a deep psychological need, an internal drive so deep and so powerful that she did truly experience it as truth. Also, he missed other important clues or deliberately chose to ignore them. Here's one that he admits missing. I had missed it.
So she's delusional about herself, basically.
Right. She's convinced herself.
Well, that's interesting.
That she experienced these things.
You know what they're saying about narcissists now? They used to say that narcissists at the root of themselves experience deep shame. Now they're saying that's not true.
Yeah.
That a lot of narcissists don't. That they literally think of themselves as godlike,
right,
deity based, and that's yeah.
Okay, I lost my. Okay, no, I got it.
All the time.
And all the time I was spending with Laura, and all the time I was thinking about her and trying to put together the pieces of her. I had overlooked one simple detail that had been available from the very beginning, a detail that should have told me so much about what was happening inside her. With everything else that was already on Laura's shelves, with all those science books and history books and volumes on the paranormal just waiting to be read, why on earth was she wasting a single second reading romance novels? Why were those books so important to her? What was she finding there that she could not get anywhere else? It was right in front of me and I could not see it. If a trained observer such as Tom French could miss such an important detail, then we might ask, what else did he take on face value? How much else did he miss, or simply chose not to mention?
And I hate romance novels.
He's got a good point. And on their forum, Laura talks about the importance of reading these romance novels.
What?
Because, yeah. And also,
serious?
Yeah, and from what I remember, it came from some channelings from the Cassiopaean material about it. I don't remember exactly.
But don't be
I don't remember because I don't have photographic memory like Laura does. But I thought that they said something about it.
And she survived a hurricane in a tree at 14.
I didn't do that either. No.
But that's crazy because she also claims that the seas say that we're not to be intimate with each other because that creates.
Well, I know because you're just supposed to read romance novels.
But isn't that creating? I mean, I don't like romance. I read unaliving mysteries. That's how I relax in the bathtub. Every night I take a hot bath, don't I, Todd?
Yeah, you do, and you read your novels, but not romance novels.
No.
But anyway, yeah. But there's a whole section. There's a whole section about the importance of reading like certain kinds of fiction and people sharing their experiences with reading certain romance novels and stuff. And
are they having a hormonal reaction and thinking it's spiritual? Is that what it is?
It could be. I didn't look into it much.
So my channel, leave a comment below. Should we look those readings up on the C's website forum just to discuss them, to kind of laugh at what they're saying? They're probably been edited by Laura. Let's be real.
Yeah, I'll look into that. Okay, it's your turn.
My turn. Part 3. As Tom French became more involved with Laura, he sat in on a few Cassiopaean channeling sessions at the Ouija board. The Cassiopaeans even had a few things to say to Tom directly. I'm sure they did. On a couple of occasions, the C's addressed themselves to Sherry or me directly. One night, just as I was putting away my notepad and getting ready to make an exit, they told me to sit myself back down. They were polite about it, but firm. "Please do not leave just yet, Mr. French," said the stream of letters coming from the board. Laura paused. "Why?" she said. "We may have some things to say to him." I sat back down. When a sixth density being tells you to do something, you tend to listen. Still, I could not help but laugh. What followed was encouraging, but not especially dramatic. The C's told me that I had been through some hard times, but that I had finally opened a doorway to my subconscious and learned how to examine the metamorphosis of my being. Good things they hinted were just down the road. There are many changes yet to come. This did not seem particularly prescient on the part of the C's, but the C's did reveal one curious and checkable fact. Laura's son Jason, who was 12 at the time, had been having what Laura believed was a bleed-through from another life since early childhood. The C's supplied two ambiguous names, and the search was on. Laura found an Air Force captain with a first and middle name that matched the C's hint, who was unalived in Vietnam in April of 1969. The captain had relatives close by, and a meeting was arranged. Jesus Christ. Jason had some details correct from his childhood experiences, but the details added by the hypnosis in the C's proved to be completely inaccurate. Naturally, the relatives, two sisters, wanting nothing to do with this such strangeness. "I just don't believe a word of it," the sister told Tom French. It was time for the third miracle, if the C's and Laura's self-image were to survive. In April 1996, Laura decided it was time for a change, announced that she was divorcing her husband, Louis Martin. The reason? Laura said that Louis did not support her channeling and other paranormal pursuits. She said he seemed to have changed in ways that startled her, to have become more cold and distant. She wondered aloud if the Lizzies, lizard beings, the reptilians, had somehow replaced him or transformed him into one of the zombie-like creatures as part of the campaign to track her movements, because she's so important. Tom, of course, took this as a metaphor, but to Laura, it was a reality. Louis later commented to Tom. Louis acknowledged that he had been worried that some of the entities Laura was channeling might not be benevolent. He was not surprised to learn that Laura had wondered if the Lizzies, the reptilians, were manipulating him. He had already heard as much. He didn't appreciate that she had suggested such a possibility. It hurt his feelings, he said. Then Tom continues with some interesting observations. "I was not particularly surprised by Laura's suspicions that Louis had changed into some kind of zombie." I'm laughing because if you guys follow the Lori Vallow, Chad Daybell cult, they unalived those children because they believed they were zombies.
Right.
That was a doomsday cult too.
And also, going back to the Lizzie, remember the Lizzies are the fourth density service to self beings.
Which is what the Cassiopaeans are.
Right.
Yeah. Those were the terms under which she had come to see the world. That was her prism. In the past, I had heard born-again Christians who were having marital problems talk about how Satan had entered their spouses and was manipulating them. Was this so different? I took this to simply be Laura's way of saying that Louis had become a stranger to her and that she no longer trusted him. Indeed,
that's a stretch.
She's the one who had the affair.
But I know, but still, that Tom is just like, oh, she just doesn't trust him, so she's calling him a Lizzie. He's being manipulated by Lizzies. It's just funny.
Yeah. Well, when you're in a cult, you double down and you live in cognitive dissonance, right? So
right.
Indeed, the fundamentalist Christian comparison is very apt. This was a totalist black and white mindset. Laura was acting on the belief that she is correct, and those that do not share her views are somehow manipulated by the forces of darkness. This scene would become paramount in the Cassiopaean mythos as the cult developed. We see that in the Truther world too, don't we, Todd?
What's that? Sorry, you
Black
lost me.
and white thinking, the totalism.
Right. Yes.
That is very big in the truther world. That if
Uh-huh.
you don't absolutely agree with the narrative of the truthers, then you are darkness. You are controlled.
And it's just like the leftists.
Yeah, just like the
It's just
well,
a different.
yeah.
It's just a different flavor.
It's the same. It's the different side of the exact same coin.
Yeah.
It is also an indication of a much deeper pathology. To give Tom French his due, from very early on in their relationship, he realized the depth of the psychological problems and then decided that they were irrelevant. His interest was not whether Laura was, in fact, a case of pathology, but how she lived and coped with that mindset and the world she had created for herself. And as long as her fantasies remained personal and private, that would have been enough. Here's Tom's point of view on the subject. As she once wondered about other people who believe they have been abducted, I thought it conceivable that Laura had suffered some sort of traumatic ABUSC. We can't say that word either, Todd. As a girl, and was inventing these alien episodes to cover up her memories of the ABUSC. Some details from her early history might fit with this theory. A succession of men did move through Laura's childhood. After Laura's parents' divorce, her mother had remarried 4 times. Once, Laura says, one of her stepfathers kidnapped her for several days. I actually don't trust that, but okay. I asked Laura if she had ever been ABUSED'd by that stepfather or anyone else. She said no, absolutely not. When I asked for details of the kidnapping, she said she did not know. She had almost no memory of it. She said it was all blank. Other possibilities occurred to me. I wonder if maybe Laura had imagined the face at the window and all the other strange episodes as a way of injecting drama into her life. Was it possible that she was bored or lonely or simply so desperate to find something to occupy her mind that she had created this huge fantasy? What if all of it, the exorcisms, the spirit detachment, the channeling with the seas, was just some massive, unruly play that her subconscious was constantly staging to keep things interesting? Then, of course, there was the simplest explanation. What if Laura was the victim of some psychosis? This was a possibility Laura repeatedly raised herself. Sometimes I think I'm losing my mind, she said. Is this what being mad is like? Because, some really crazy people can seem really sane. Oh, Laura, you don't seem sane, honey. Every time she brought up this possibility, Laura dismissed it. She said she had occasionally been to counselors and psychologists, as many of us have, but to her knowledge, she told me she was never been diagnosed with any mental illness. Early on, I considered asking Laura to be evaluated by a psychiatrist at the newspaper's expense. What if a doctor could put a name on whatever was happening with her? What if he or she told us that Laura was a manic depressive, delusional, even schizophrenic? Ultimately, though, I never asked Laura to put herself under the microscope. I didn't feel right. The more time I spent with her, the less I wanted to try to force her into another box. Whatever was happening with her, there was something remarkable about the way it was playing itself out. She was raising her children, enjoying her friendships with Frank and others, reading and learning all the time, exploring the reaches of her imagination. The woman was leading a life. It wasn't a perfect life, not even close, but it was hers, and it was extraordinary, and I was not about to interfere. As Laura went through the months of depression around her decision to divorce Lewis, she apparently sought professional help. At one point, she went to see a psychiatrist. Afterwards, she told me what had happened. She had given the psychiatrist her life history, told him about the face at the window and the other disturbing childhood episodes. She said that he had suggested she consider the possibility that she was traumatized as a child. She did not agree. She said her recollections of the incidents were too vivid and real for her to have imagined them. Laura pressed the doctor for help. What could she do? How was she supposed to handle those memories that haunted her? He said she should try to stop thinking about them, learn to cordon off those areas of her mind. Laura didn't think it was possible. How could she cordon off something so important? Laura went to see the psychiatrist only a few times. She said he told her she was healthy and did not need to go back. I have things to say about that, but I'm going to finish this paragraph before we talk about that. It boggles the imagination that any competent mental health professional given what Laura reported anywhere near the truth of her situation and inner mental state, would have declared her healthy and turned her loose. It is much more likely that the psychiatrist told her that her problem was complex and costly to treat, and that determined Laura's own opinion on her mental health. Depression would have been the least of the myriads of diagnoses. Let's pause on that, because what happens when a person gets diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder?
What happens?
Yeah, they stop going, don't they?
Oh, yes. Uh-huh.
I was about to say you have personal experience with that, but I don't know if you want to talk about it.
Yeah, no, I don't want to get into that.
Yeah, people who are diagnosed with some of these personality disorders think the psychiatrist is wrong, and they don't go back.
Right.
So that,
yeah. And then they blame it on the psychiatrist that they were wrong. The diagnosis was wrong. The psychiatrist was crazy. They don't know who I am. But they come up with all sorts of reasons why they shouldn't continue seeing the psychiatrist or psychologist.
And well, she said the psychiatrist said she was healthy. Obviously, this guy's saying she's not. She thinks her husband has been possessed and zombified by reptoid creatures. Question: how many more parts are there? Should we?
This is do we have one more part? One more that is. It's pretty long. We could stop here and come back to it because this is pretty long.
All right. So why don't we record if you want, we can record part 2 tomorrow. So we get it up pretty quickly for our people.
Yeah.
All right. So guys, we're going to come back to the last part tomorrow because I know we're over an hour now. And so that'll give you guys time to take all that in. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. I would say be nice, but frankly, I don't give a shit if you're nice or not, because what this woman has done to people is truly wicked.
And we haven't even really gotten started on that. Now it's just the beginning, going all the way back in time. Yes, laying the foundation. We're going to get into the awful stuff
coming. I mean, I'm telling you, like, she's wicked. There's a reason why Vincent Bridges has put this much time into writing this. I mean, it takes a long time to read it, but think about how long it took him to compile all of this and write it. And if you go in and look at his website in the Wayback Machine and how extensive it is, like the later part of his life seemed to be focused on exposing Laura. She's a terrible person.
It seemed like half his time was on his regular profession. The other half of the time was to try to wake people up to what was going on.
Yeah, she's not just some dowdy housewife who's got psychological problems. Obviously, I believe she's a malignant narcissist.
This is someone who allegedly scammed a lot of people out of money here in America, took that money, ran off to France, bought a big farm where they officially started the cult.
We got to move to
okay.
So that's why I wanted to. Yeah, okay. Let's answer them.
And before we get to your questions, guys, just a quick shout out to our sponsors, which is Fusion Body Studio, which is my online fitness boutique platform that I share with my partner, Paula. In the beginning, we were speaking about all the stuff that we have problems with here on YT. When it comes to getting our work out, we struggle. Therefore, because of that, we don't really make any money doing this at all. And so Fusion Body Studio is what supports Fusion Body Studio, and our patrons and our producers support the work we do here. It is truly a grassroots effort. And this is what I do for a living off of camera. This is what I've been doing for 19 years off of camera. And I'm so glad to be able, through the platform on YouTube, create an audience that I'm now able to share all of my teaching on camera on an online platform for those who are willing to do the work on themselves and take care of themselves. And so if you want to help support the channel and get healthy, we would love to have you over on Fusion Body Studio. Of course, again, it's an online fitness boutique. It's like an at-home gym, but we go a little bit further than just workouts. Of course, every single workout on Fusion Body Studio is brought to you by master teachers, not just myself, but master teachers who also work in the healing arts. And so every time you're doing a modern day workout like bar or strength training or cardio, we're also also teaching you the spiritual benefits of the practice. We're teaching you about the energetic reaction that your body is having on top of the physical reaction. This, of course, is all levels. We make every workout, we cater every workout to every single level of fitness practitioners. And so we give modifications. Now that's tier 1, which is just the workouts. And if you're not interested in spirituality, but you want to get healthy, that's a great workout for you, a great tier for you. But if you also want to learn about the more esoteric information found in like the ancient texts, which is where we get like the practice of yoga, which is where we know that exercise is the foundation of spirituality, then you might want to sign up for tier 2. Tier 2 gives you the option. You have all access to all of the workouts, but you also on top of that have a library of like workshops where you can learn about things like the Bhagavad Gita, quantum healing, Vedic chanting, meditation, alchemy of movement, all sorts of different academic styled research to help you understand more of a philosophical aspect to going to the gym, right? To make your experience in your body a little bit more comprehensible and a little bit more than just a physical sweat. Now, with this platform, we also do 2 live classes a month. So one of the classes is a workout, and the other class is usually like an educational lecture. For this month, October 2025, we got Catherine Edwards, we've had Tamara Wright, we've had Cindy Ola, Todd has contributed to it as well, and we look forward to growing that library. Unlike the Cassiopaean cult, we don't want to be a cult. We want to be a resource for people. We want to be a support for people. And so that's why we try to get as many teachers involved in this as possible so that you have a plethora of professionals helping you and not just one person. With Fusion Body Studio, you also get 7 days of a free trial. So if you're thinking about trying Fusion Body Studio, but you don't know if you want to pay for it, you do get 7 days before your card is charged. So we give you a full week to play with the platform, to try the classes, to make sure that it's something that you really want to do. And if it's not something that you want to do, then you can always cancel your membership, no problem. Tier 1 is $25 a month. Tier 2 is $40 a month. But if you use discount code, we'll use Todd's code, AYA20, that stands for Ashtanga Yoga Atlanta, Todd's business, AYA20, all caps, down at checkout. So when you're checking out, you put that discount code in, you will get 20% off your first 6 months with us. And so it's a great deal, you guys. We look forward to having you over on Fusion Body Studio. And with that being said, let's get back to your questions and back to the remainder of this episode. Questions.
So here is the first question. I'm just going to read the whole thing. Thanks, Todd, for all this. So interesting. So does that mean that organic portals are in search of wanderers? Yes. Not that they are consciously in search of wanderers, but intuitively there's a draw. They want to plug in. Organic portals are here to plug in to the energy source that a wanderer is. Yep. Okay. Next one. Do 4D service to self entities help them? Absolutely. Yes, they do. Those are their own. That's an organic portals overlord. One 4D service to self may have many organic portals that they control. They don't need to constantly puppet them around and constantly send thoughts, but they can give them little, they could give little nudges. They could give a little nudge into a wanderer's life, and all of a sudden, whoop, there's the wanderer and the organic portal.
The Lizzies they're eating the energy of the wanderer through the organic portal.
Right.
That's why they're organic portals. They portal energy.
And then they go on. Would they show up as someone with a manipulative personality, say a narcissist, and would that treatment be a way to suck wanderers' energy? Yes. All organic portals are narcissists.
Not all narcissists are organic portals.
Exactly. Because actually, take this a step further, a souled third density narcissist is much more dangerous than a non-souled organic portal. Yep. It's easier to go into battle with an organic portal than it is a truly polarized service to self third density.
Yeah, because a third
soul
density
person.
being who's going service to self and not serve will be a narcissist, like Laura. Laura's a good example of that. She is a candidate for service to self fourth density. She's not going there is no way in hell that woman is going service to others. Her whole life has been about scamming people, hurting people, controlling people, and
Forming a cult. I mean, that's
enslavement, a pecking order of elitism. So Laura is an example of a third density service to self. She's going into the service to self direction, and that's how she's dangerous. That's why she's so dangerous.
Yeah.
Think about the controllers, the establishment, what they do, right?
Yeah.
They have souls. The establishment has souls. They're not organic portals.
Oh, right. Yeah. No, they're not going to I'm sure they have ways of figuring it out whether someone is an organic portal or a soul. Probably. For one, an organic portal cannot have Rh negative blood, which is another reason why the secret societies, controllers, Illuminati, whatever you want to call them, they don't want. It's the reason why they want Rh negative people.
Yeah.
In their organization is because that's one way they can weed out. An organic portal could not come into a body that has Rh negative blood.
It's too much energy for them. They don't have the energy. Oh, that's another question we got too about the extra vertebrae. That is only possible for Rh negatives to have, specifically O negatives. We even found more on that, didn't we, Todd? Like it is only possible for an Rh negative, a person who is O negative, A negative, B negative, AB negative, but most likely an O negative. They're the common. It's very rare. It's a very rare thing. I have it. It's very rare, but it's old.
And a chiropractor is not going to let you know if you have an extra vertebra. You have to get X-rayed, and
an MRI.
Before you get X-rayed, you'll know that you have it because you'll experience major back issues from the time you're a child.
That was me. So I was 13 when I found out I had an extra vertebrae because I was having extreme back issues to the point where I was not able, my legs were it's because I was growing, right? And so it was affecting, I didn't have a lot of space in my torso. So it was affecting the nerves in my legs. And a 13-year-old to have that many back issues, I went to the doctor. They did all these tests, x-rays, MRI, and that's when they found it. And then from 13 to 17, so for 4 years, I worked with doctors through physical therapy, steroid injections to avoid surgery. But when I was 17, I went for a checkup and I had lost feeling in the back of my leg. And so they had to do surgery at that point because that was a sign that since I had lost feeling in the back of my leg, I had so much pressure that I was going to eventually lose control of my bladder and my bowels, basically. So they had to go in to relieve the pressure off of my nerves. And I still to this day sometimes have lose feeling in the back of my leg. So this is a serious issue. This is not something that you're just gonna not know about, then all of a sudden discover. As
an adult, yeah, you're not gonna all of a sudden discover as an adult. It's something you're gonna know about probably for the time you're in your early teens.
Right, when you start to grow. I know I have an extra urinary tube because of health. Rh negatives are just riddled with some health abnormalities. They're not they're anomalies, but basically, and you just learn how to deal with them. And that's when you learn a lot of Rh negatives have extra organs. I have an extra urinary tube. So I've had an extra urinary tube since I was in the 2nd grade. They found that, and it's not, again, a chiropractor can't tell you because honestly, where the extra vertebrae is in your lower back, you can't feel or see to count that. You can see my ribs, or my spine, but the lower, you can't really see in the lower back, can you, Todd? You can see my scar. On my lower back from the surgery. But this is so if you are an adult watching this and you are not Rh negative, you do not have an extra vertebrae. That is impossible. It's not possible. Just like different, think about genetics. There are different genetics that people have, but depending on, it's just a genetic thing, okay? If you are Rh negative and you're an adult and you've never had problems, then you probably don't have an extra vertebrae because it is it's very apparent, isn't it, Todd? It very much it causes problems, right?
Yeah.
So
okay. So here's the next question. Okay. Hello, Todd. My question. Many questions come to mind. All this is relatively new to me. After what you said, I think I'm a native soul. going by the description. I'm 68 years of age. I have interacted with many people in my life through work and play, just going through the motions. The question that came to my mind is about dogs and cats and animals. I imagine this soul journey is from millions of years ago until now, lasting 75,000 years each cycle. Where has the dog and cat souls been if the journey started millions of years ago and only progressed to dog and cats born now?
That's not how it works for them. They're
right. Yeah, and also we're dealing with time, no time. Yeah. Like it's too difficult.
Well, and the planet Earth first had second density creatures on it before there were third density creatures on it. Right. So animals have been here longer than people have been here.
Right. So through the first density starts, there's no animals, there's no plants or anything. And then second density starts, and slowly the organisms start to grow into plants, into animals, and then billions of years go by during second density. There's no third density beings on the planet at that time. And then all of a sudden third density starts, but first and second are still moving along.
Yeah. So the animals have been here the whole time. Now your dog hasn't been a dog in every life, right? Like just like I'm not a white woman in every life, right? Like
right. But a dog was never a third density being.
No.
Well, no. I mean, I guess you could flunk pretty hard. Well, you can.
So your dog was never a human, has never been a human. Your cat's never been a human?
Well, actually, if they were an organic portal.
Well, that's true. We asked about that about Ravi. Ravi's he didn't jump the line. So if you're an organic portal, you jump the line, you have to go back and do it. So some animals could have been
an organic portal, but we won't really call those a third density soul. I mean, they spent some time in third density, but they weren't a third density soul. So you can't flunk third so hard that you go back to first or second, unless you're an organic portal, and that's not really flunky. They just cheated.
You can't. Yeah, you cheated. You can't jump the line. So I know we asked about Ravi if Ravi did not. And this is Ravi's apparently it's his last life of being a second density.
And what's really cool is that when you're in your last life as a second density being, you could have all your energy centers.
Yeah, Ravi's got all 7 chakras. That's why certain animals, if you think back about with your animals, the ones that have like really distinct personalities, like really fun, like really, they test their boundaries with you. That's because they're developing self-awareness to come into third density, so they can.
Usually they're at their last lifetime before they start their third density cycle.
So, and it was funny, we were like laying with Ravi the other day and we're like, we're your guardians in this life and we'll probably be your guardians in the next life too.
Uh-huh.
But you don't remember us.
Right. Okay, next question.
Can I applaud this person for a second? Yeah. I'm so happy that she said, I'm a native soul person. Listen, I would love to be thank you for, I think that you're so lucky to be a native souled person, and so many people like want to be wanderers, and you're not any better being a wanderer. In fact, being a wanderer, it makes your life 10 times harder. And so I applaud you for like just being like, I think I'm a native, like bravo for like being that self-aware. I just want to really highlight that, Todd. That's right. Pretty big, isn't it?
Yeah. Absolutely. That's what I thought. That's what I got. That's what I got from that comment the most. And I was like, wow, finally, someone that doesn't want to be quote unquote seem special. We're all the same here. No one's more special than the other person, unless you're an organic portal. But if you're listening to this, most likely you're not an organic portal unless you plan on stealing our information that we're putting out and making it your own. So if you've got any idea about doing that, then you probably are an organic portal. Yeah. But I don't go around labeling people organic portals, but at the same time, like we're all special.
Only Laura and I can do that.
Right. We're all special unless you're an organic portal. But anyway, so next question. If third density is a density of the veil and not being able to remember our previous life, then our psychics in the third density who have a vision of their previous life, are they quacks? I'm asking because I saw one and it was unreal what they told me, and that made me connect so many dots with my mom and sister. He knew nothing about me, but knew a lot about me, if that makes sense. He has been doing readings for over 30 years because he knew he had this gift as a young child. There are plenty of quacks out there. There are plenty of psychic quacks. This one, it sounds like that they are a wanderer and have this
wanderers have bleed through a lot. And Laura Knight is not a wanderer, just so you guys know, she's not. I would say 99% of the people who claim to be psychics are not. They're delusional. And sometimes psychics can like watch body language, and they can give a vague statement that's gonna like hit on almost everybody. Like everyone's like, what, looking for love, everyone wants a good job, like everyone wants to know why they, and so they can hit these vague things and get see reactions from you, and those are con artists. But yeah, there are some wanderers out there who are truly psychic, who can hit on some past life experiences. But I say this a lot, Todd, like my perspective on all this comes from yoga. And yoga and Hinduism is a religion based off of reincarnation, so they absolutely accept this. But the whole thing is, I think what happens, Todd, I think that's why the veil is so important. In this, like, I'm Bryce right now, so every karma I have, every issue I have from a past life needs to be dealt with as Bryce. And I would just caution people. I think we see this a lot. I think so many people, like Laura, we're seeing with Laura with her romance novels, that maybe they're so bored in their own lives or don't like their own lives that they disassociate. And I think some people do that through past life readings. Well, I was this person. Have you noticed, like, in past life readings, nobody is just like the toilet cleaner?
Right.
They're always somebody big and special, like, and so it's part of that fantasy. And so I would just caution people, like, I know I have past lives. I've been told about some of them. I don't really care, though, do I, Tom?
I mean, it's hard enough to deal with this life without trying to deal with past lives. I'm just trying to survive
being Bryce and not leave this life with more karma. Like, I don't want to leave. And you've seen me have past life information, and I forget it, don't I? Like, right after, I don't even focus on it, do I?
Right, yeah.
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't really make a difference. It doesn't help me in this life.
It doesn't help me now. Like, I'm Bryce right now, right? Like, it doesn't help me now. So okay, I'm more proud of like my ancestors than I am past life stuff.
Yeah.
So I would just be very hesitant if you're somebody who, it's okay to have like a fascination and get some information, but if you're somebody who is constantly seeking that for any type of validation, I would take a cold, hard look at yourself and just do some self-reflection. What are you avoiding in this life? What are you trying to escape in this life? Because whatever it is that you're trying to escape in this life, if it isn't figured out, you're going to have to do it again in the next life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So last question. Why are fifth density souls more rare than sixth, as in wanderers? Probably because it takes you so long, so many millions and millions of years to remove yourself from third density to be naive enough to want to come back is probably what it is. Is what I think it is.
To be dumb enough to come back?
Exactly, right. The crazy enough to come back, because it's like you sort of forget how intense it was because there's been so much. I mean, you go into a timeless place, but maybe I'm wrong about that. But
so that's upping of consciousness, yeah. Because wanderers, even though they're old souls or whatever, they can seem naive at times because it's been so long since they've been in a place where people screw each other over, But
also the veil. I mean, everyone's subjected to the veil, and so yeah, that's a good question that I don't exactly know the answer for. Yeah. I mean, fifth density to me is pretty obscure, trying to understand exactly what it's about. But in a sense, it's the wisdom density. The fourth density is the density of love, whether it's love for self or love for others. And then once you're done with that, you move away from love density and you go into wisdom. And then after the wisdom density, sixth is like the merging of both.
Yeah.
It's love informed by wisdom. And for whatever reason, that's the density that you tend to come back.
He volunteered his tribute.
Yeah.
And I want to say too, the love density, I want people to be very careful, because when you are talking to a fourth density service to others entity, they're not going to come on the board and be like, hello, dear ones.
Oh, it's not all love and light. They
No,
laugh at that. They make fun of that.
They make fun of that. They're tough love. Because love is tough sometimes. Sometimes it is sitting down with you and having hard conversations with you. And that's what Lou does. Lou is very, and when it gets really intense, he's like, we love you. This is what needs to be done, though. We can't do it for you. You've got to do it for yourself. And so if you're doing channeling and you've got an entity coming going, dear ones, it's light and love. Hi, dear. I would be very wary of that, because when Lou comes through, it's like, hey, hello. It's
very matter of fact.
Very matter of fact. You know, it's very straightforward. I mean, I've never seen you cry as much as I have doing this with you.
Yeah, it's been intense.
Yeah, but it's all good, right? You feel
absolutely
they're tough on you. They're tough on you. But it's not flowery. They're not doing anything for you. They're not here to rescue you.
No.
You know?
It's just like working with a guru.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like even Lou would say, like, where do you think gurus get their information? You know?
The way I see fifth density too, Todd, in my mind's eye, and I could be wrong, it seems like it's almost like the density of ashrams, where both sides, you're kind of more in isolation and in contemplation.
Right.
Which for the negative side, that's basically like being sent to the corner to reflect on your deeds. The positive side, it's just reflecting on your deeds and understanding the wisdom around certain actions. So it's more reflective than action taking. And so I think that's why that would be my answer as to why there's not many fifth density wanderers, because fifth density is such a form of reflection. I'm sure many fifth density souls probably don't feel like they're quite ready to wander yet, because they need that reflection. They want to complete that reflection.
Right.
Or they take that leap to come back down to third.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's wrap it up.
All right. Cool, guys. Well, we'll be back for part 3 of the Cassiopaean cult exposure. And it will be part 2 of Who is Vincent Bridges, where we take off from part 4 of the article that we're reading.
And if you have any other questions.
Ask them, so that we can answer them in an upcoming video. We love getting the questions, because it makes us think too, right? Like, you know, so anyway, all right. Well, I would say thank you, Todd, but I'm literally going to hit end and go into the front room with you. So,
All right.
Bye, everybody.